Tonight, a conclusion and jury recommendations at the inquest into the death of killer Myles Sanderson. Also, a new traffic safety focus will have drivers in Regina doing mandatory breathalyzers, regardless of why they're pulled over. Plus, stopping by the Brant Centre as the 2024 Montana's Brier gets underway in Regina.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, March 1st, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. Yesterday, Ottawa released the long-awaited details of the federal government's pharmacare plan. It has an initial commitment to cover some diabetes treatments and contraception. But, as Pratush Dayal reports, Saskatchewan has yet to decide if it will opt out.
This is about health equity.
Ottawa has introduced a legislation that inches Canada closer to universal drug coverage. To start, the federal government would cover diabetes medication and devices and birth control. But many details about how it will work are missing.
I think there's a lot of details we have to understand. So, you know, the devil will be in the details. The devil will be in the administration.
1 in 4 Canadians is diabetic, about 3.7 million people. And many don't follow the treatment plans because of cost. But Blackburn says diabetes care is more than just blood sugar controlling drugs. The diabetics have conditions that may mean a need for other types of medication.
It would be naive of us to think that all of a sudden all diabetics are going to have free drugs.
Ontario wants more information before committing, and Alberta has said it will opt out. It is not clear if Saskatchewan will follow the same, but the province says it needs more information. It says Saskatchewan already has one of the most comprehensive drug coverage plans in Canada. But Saskatoon Sexual Health says the plan is much needed here.
This is our contraceptive cupboard.
The centre provides counselling and prescribes contraception that ranges from things like daily birth control pills to longer-term use IUDs.
IUDs, and they're $425. The next plan in is $350.
That's a challenge for some people, but the pharmacare plan would make it free for 9 million Canadians.
We have people here every day seeking contraceptive care, and we also have people here, maybe not every day, but multiple times a week, who are seeking termination care, so abortions. A huge proportion of the people here who are seeking termination, it is because of either a lack of access to contraception or a failure of their contraceptive method.
Saskatchewan has the highest rate of teen pregnancy in Canada. There's also skyrocketing STI rates and the worst rate of new HIV infections in the country. The National Pharmacare Plan could help address that. In a statement, the Saskatchewan NDP's health critic says the plan would be good for all Canadians, and Cottrell agrees, both medically and financially. She says Saskatchewan should opt in.
If we can even touch 2 small areas of healthcare, contraception and diabetes medication, the impact will be enormous. I do feel that we are regressing in a lot of our health politics and policies in Saskatchewan right now, and that's really concerning.
Pratush Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The coroner's inquest into the death of Myles Sanderson closed yesterday. Sanderson killed 11 people in September of 2022. 10 were in his community of James Smith Cree Nation and another in nearby Weldon. At the inquest's end, 6 jurors found he died of a cocaine overdose shortly after being taken into police custody. They also laid out 4 recommendations, 3 of which were for the RCMP.
We'll take those recommendations back, we'll review them and look at where we can implement them and what we can do to address the recommendations. In the coming weeks, we're going to be releasing our independent officer review that was done to look at the entire incident and our response to it and where we can look at improving, because we always want to do better.
The inquest also brings closure to the community of James Smith. After the inquest, leadership talked about changes in the community since the attack and the 260 letters they say they received from students about changes they want to see and questions they had.
How do you become a politician? Yeah, that made me laugh. So I said through wisdom and honor and by the elders and also the community. One, they wanted to see a youth center, a bunch of youth, stuff in the youth center, a pool, weights, anything that you can think of, we bought it.
People in the community say this inquest helped them understand the full picture and start their healing journey. You can read more about the conclusion and the recommendations on our website, cbc.ca/sask. Tributes continue to come in after the death of Brian Mulroney, Canada's 18th Prime Minister. Mulroney died yesterday in Florida at the age of 84. He served as PM for 9 years, from the mid-1980s to the early 90s. Mulroney is being widely remembered for making a lasting impact on both Canadian and international politics. Rafi Boudjikanian has more.
All over Parliament Hill, where Brian Mulroney called home for years, signs a nation is in mourning.
He changed this country. I mean, he was a transformative prime minister. We've not had many of those.
Rick Perkins saw this firsthand as a staffer in Mulroney's government.
The big issues that he tackled are still in place today, whether it's NAFTA, free trade, the things that he did on the world stage we all know about, from apartheid and bringing the Commonwealth and Francophonie along to support his fight to free Nelson Mandela and end apartheid.
But in his last days, Mulroney was away from the limelight.
Brian had a fall and had to go to the hospital and passed away yesterday, late in the afternoon. So the wonderful thing is that all 4 of the children were able to be here in time to see their father.
Mulroney continued to be honored on the Hill today, with a book of condolences placed by his portrait as tributes poured in from opposition and government.
Well, there's certainly going to be many examples of disagreements that many New Democrats had with some of the policies. But today is a day to reflect on his contributions. And I can say with a lot of confidence he did have significant contributions to Canada. And there are things that we can agree with. His work on environmentalism, his work on fighting apartheid in South Africa.
The idea of service and devotion to country ran through everything he did. And I think in this time of a level of toxicity and personal attacks in politics that seems to have gotten worse over the past while, I think it's important to inspire ourselves and to take a moment to remember that everyone who serves does so out of a deep and abiding love for Canada.
The Prime Minister announced today Canadians will have their own opportunity to publicly mourn Mulroney, and the government is working with the family to arrange a state funeral soon. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
By now, you've probably heard that much of Saskatchewan is under a winter storm warning. Our weather specialist, Tyreek Reed, joins me now with a look at what's to come. Ty?
Yeah, Sam, we started our week with winter storm, and now we're ending it with another winter storm, mainly in the southern parts of Saskatchewan. We do have those warnings in effect. We'll see that snow make its way into the southwest tomorrow morning. It'll mainly stay there throughout the day, but as we head further into Saturday, that's when we'll really start to see that system expand. And as we wake up on Sunday, we could be waking up to around 20 to even 30 centimeters of snow in some areas. Along with this system, it's going to bring really strong winds. That's going to cause a lot of blowing snow. So when you're heading out, you're going to want to check the highway hotline and check those road conditions. And of course, this won't be the end of it. We'll see the system make its way into Monday as well. But I'll have more on that in my forecast coming up, Sam.
Thank you and no thank you at the same time, Ty.
I completely get that.
Thanks.
No problem.
The best men's curling rinks from across the country are in Regina for the next 10 days. The 2024 Montana's Brier gets underway in the Queen City tonight, and our Sam Sampson was at the Brand Centre today and brings us the details.
With so many talented and, of course, experienced athletes here at the Brier starting tonight in Regina, I think a lot of people in Saskatchewan will be keeping an eye out for their own province's team. Team Saskatchewan has, to us it might be a newbie, but Mike McEwen is no newbie here to the Brier and curling overall. So skip Mike McEwen from Brandon, Manitoba, played with Manitoba teams for years. Last year he played with Ontario, and now he's wearing Saskatchewan colors. That could be a game changer for this province, considering Team Saskatchewan has not won a Brier since 1980.
I don't think you want to go into this feeling like you have to overreach or do something you haven't done before. And we're not in that position. I think there's a lot of belief in our locker room that if we do what we're capable of and what we've done at periods during the season, that could be enough to take it all the way.
Other things to watch for at the Brier in Regina, of course, Team Canada and Brad Gushue, they're going for a three-peat. Yeah, back-to-back, two-back wins. So they won last year in London, Ontario. The year before that, they won the Brier in Lethbridge, Alberta. So they're hoping for a little bit of magic here in Regina. Could be a bit of deja vu, actually, for Brad Gushue himself. He won his second Brier here in Regina back in 2018. Now, Gushue is also potentially looking at his 6th Brier win. 6 Brier wins. That's not a small feat. And I asked him, you've been curling for 30 years, you have so many titles, you've been to the Olympics. What do these kind of potential historic moments mean to you as you're preparing for a tournament like this? That's what he said.
Really doesn't matter, because I think our legacy is kind of cemented, really, to be honest, with what we've achieved so far from the province that we live in winning Olympics, winning a bronze medal at the Olympics and 5 Briers. I don't think it's going to change too much now. It's just for that personal satisfaction of having that really cool moment of winning and the party after. So.
Team Canada will face off against Nova Scotia tonight. Other draws here on the ice at the Brandt Centre. You've got Northwest Territories against Quebec. 2 Alberta teams. You have Slaczynski versus Cooey. And then, of course, Team Saskatchewan versus PEI. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Regina.
Teachers in Regina, Moose Jaw, Estevan, and Weyburn are among those going on strike on Monday. The Saskatchewan Teachers Federation says it coincides with the first day of the spring legislative sitting, so teachers will be picketing outside the legislature. Teachers say they refuse to negotiate until class complexity is included in their new contract. Teachers province-wide are planning to back out of extracurricular activities next Tuesday and Wednesday as well. SGI says it's sharing advice from a friend who doesn't want to see you get in trouble. If a police officer stops your vehicle and demands a breath sample to determine if you've had any booze before driving, take the test. Darla Pones has more on what you need to know about mandatory roadside alcohol tests.
Regina Police and SGI are letting drivers know that if you get stopped for any reason in Regina this month, they're going to require you to do an alcohol test.
So as long as we have impaired drivers on our roads, we continue to have a problem.
When I heard that this was happening, I had questions. Can they actually force everyone to do this? I read through angry responses on Regina Facebook pages. People wondering if police can stop anyone and just give them a breathalyzer. But they can. A federal law that gives police this right actually took effect in 2018. SGI and the police say many drivers don't know they are required to comply. To get a better understanding of what was happening, I spoke to criminal lawyer Ron Pichet. He told me the practice bypasses the rights guaranteed to every Canadian in the Charter.
Section 1 of the Charter says that your individual rights do not supersede the safety of the community as a whole.
Impaired driving remains the leading cause of death on Saskatchewan roads.
Police say drivers who pass the test will be rewarded with a smile and a coffee gift card. But according to lawyers like Pichet, that might not be enough. He expects cases to challenge this to go all the way to the Supreme Court. Darla Pones, CBC News, Regina.
It was a calm, clear day in Saskatoon this morning. The perfect weather to get out for a walk before that snow rolls in this weekend. And if the Brier and Regina's in your travel plans this weekend, you'll also want to strategically plan your travel. Tyreek Reed will have more on that winter snowstorm warning in his full forecast coming up. Stay with us.
This weather update is brought to you by Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
Welcome back. Our weather specialist Tyreek Reed joins me now, and I think I'm among many people who are wondering how it can be so nice outside, yet we are under so many watches and warnings.
You and I both, Sam. But yes, we are still under watches and warnings, mainly in southern parts of the province for that winter storm that is moving in tomorrow morning. We are going to get a lot of snow from that. That will start in southwest Saskatchewan, mainly in the morning. So as we're heading throughout the day, we won't really see it down south in Regina. But as we head into tomorrow night and on Sunday morning, we'll really start to see that system system expand throughout most of the region, and that's going to stick around with us as we head into Monday as well. So it's going to be a long couple of days, but as we're heading into Monday night, we'll see that system make its way into the north and move out of south and central Saskatchewan. Now, as this system moves in, of course, it's going to leave us with a lot of snowfall. So by Sunday morning, we could be looking at around 20 centimeters of snow in places like Moose Jaw and Saskatoon. Even down here in Regina, we're looking at around 15 centimeters of snow by Sunday morning. And by Monday morning, as that system continues to move through, we could even see up to 40 centimeters of snow in places like Saskatoon. Down here in Regina, we're looking at around 30 centimeters of snow. So the roads will be wintry, they will be slippery, and of course, a lot of that blowing snow will make driving. You'll want to check out the highway hotline as you're driving. Now, of course, in the north, as we are looking at that system move into the north, we're going to see around 12 centimeters of snow in Pelican Narrows and around 11 in La Ronge. Now, this is a Monday problem for the north. We won't see that system make its way in until Monday night. Now, with this system that's making its way in, winds will be gusting. We saw those winds gusting up to 50 kilometers an hour today. And as that system moves in, we'll see those winds gusting up to 60 kilometers an hour in some areas, and that's going to stick with us throughout most of the weekend as well. Now, current temperatures were still quite warm today. Up in the north, we were seeing temperatures around -17 in Stony Rapids. Right now, that's their daytime high. Down in south and central Saskatchewan, we're currently seeing temperatures around -9 in Regina and -11 in Saskatoon. Much warmer in Maple Creek, around -6 right now. Now, let's take a look at our 7-day forecast for Regina. Tomorrow, we'll be seeing highs around -4, but of course, we're going to want to prepare for that winter storm that's coming. And that cooler air will stick with us because of that storm. So starting our week ahead, we'll be seeing daytime highs around -15 in Regina, but things will start to warm up as we head further into the week. We'll see highs around -5, close to seasonal on Friday. In Saskatoon, same story. We'll see highs around -12 tomorrow as that system is making its way in. And of course, that system will leave around cooler air on Monday. We'll see highs around -16, even -18 on Tuesdays to start the week. But heading into Friday, we'll see those temperatures warm up, Sam. But for now, we just got to get through this winter storm.
I'm so glad there's no picture-in-picture during your cast because I spent most of it with my jaw on the floor.
Yeah.
I was really hoping I could just let the snow melt, but that's not going to happen either.
That probably won't happen. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you.
No worries.
Stay with us. We have more news after the break. Breast cancer tends to hit Black women at younger ages and with more severe consequences. An Ontario hospital has launched a new campaign about genetic cancer testing in Black women. And as Shoshana Reed explains, the hospital says it's both an effort to inform and to empower.
At age 34, Alicia Bryan discovered a lump. Her diagnosis, stage 3 breast cancer.
My first thought was I'm going to die.
After a lumpectomy and 8 rounds of chemotherapy, she did a genetic test to find out her risk of the cancer coming back.
I do have a family history of breast cancer, but it's not something I was aware of at the time.
Genetic testing looks for a mutation to the BRCA1 or BRCA2 genes, commonly known as BRCA, by a simple saliva or blood test. If detected, it means a significantly greater lifetime risk for developing cancers such as breast, ovarian, or prostate.
I mean, it's not something that most people are aware of.
Alicia carried the BRCA2 gene. She opted for a preventative mastectomy.
I wanted to take a really aggressive step to make sure that cancer didn't recur.
By catching it very early, you're able to change the path of that disease. So you're actually able to literally save lives.
We offer genetic testing because it's information that can empower.
This Toronto hospital has launched a campaign to bring awareness about genetic testing to Black women.
So this is the tube that your saliva goes into.
Who researchers say are vastly underrepresented in genetic screening.
We see these genes occurring in all ethnic and racial communities, but what we do realize is that the knowledge about these genes is lower than it should be in the Black community.
Black women with breast cancer face poorer health outcomes. This doctor says genetic screening could improve that.
There's a risk of more aggressive breast cancer that presents at younger ages, like triple-negative breast cancer, and it tends to be harder to treat.
Provincial healthcare plans cover genetic testing for patients with cancer or a known family history. Or for hundreds of dollars, people can self-test through a private company.
Having access to genetic testing is key, or at least knowing that it is available.
It's a tool that Alicia says offered her a path forward to focus on the future. Tashana Reid, CBC News, Toronto.
There's growing concern over an increase in measles cases across parts of the country. The 2-month tally is just shy of the dozen cases reported for all of 2023, and it's happening just ahead of the busy March break travel season. Lauren Pelly has the latest.
A warning in Quebec after an unexplained case of measles.
We think that it's a beginning of a transmission inside the community.
Laval health officials say an unvaccinated individual somehow caught the virus, even though they hadn't traveled. They went on to visit a school, store, and 2 medical sites, all while highly contagious.
We are kind of worried about the evolution of measles inside our community.
Those fears follow reports of a man in his 30s living north of Toronto who also caught the virus but doesn't know how.
The unique thing about this case, and rather unfortunate thing, is that this case does not have any travel history or any history of exposure.
He had 2 doses of the measles vaccine and only mild illness.
We do know that people who are vaccinated can get a mild form of measles, and we think that they're much less likely to transmit it onwards. So that's certainly good news here.
There are only a handful of measles cases in Canada right now, but healthcare teams are bracing for more infections as global travel heats up.
South of the border, 35 cases in total have been identified across more than a dozen states, including an outbreak in Florida, a hotspot for March break vacations. This Montreal pediatric infectious disease specialist says high vaccination rates in Canada should keep the disease at bay, but
there can be certain communities or pockets of areas where the coverage rates are not high enough to stop secondary transmission.
Canada's top doctor told us Canadians should make sure their measles vaccinations are up to date.
If in doubt, I think one dose, getting a dose of vaccine prior to travel would be an important consideration.
And multiple experts agreed curbing the spread of measles is crucial given the risks. It can lead to serious complications, including blindness, brain swelling, pneumonia, even death. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
And Tyreek is back with one last look at your weather, and it's, well, it is what it is.
It is what it is, Sam. We can't control it, but for now, we're going to be looking at around -13 tonight for lows in Regina. Heading into tomorrow morning, it'll stay the same. We'll be waking up to temperatures around -12, but feeling that cooler air because of the wind chill. And heading into tomorrow afternoon, closer to when that snowfall really starts to make its way in, we'll be seeing highs at around -8. In Saskatoon, also feeling that cooler air tonight. We'll be going to sleep with temperatures around -16, and heading into tomorrow morning, waking up to temperatures around -16 again, once again with that snowfall, and heading into the afternoon, we'll see highs at around -14 as we head closer and closer to that storm really making an impact.
All right, thanks, Tyreek.
No problem, Sam.
And that's it for us this week. For news anytime, you can head to our website, our YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend.